Hey everybody, it's me again, Sarah Howard Nelson with the Humor in Chaos podcast. I am a certified resilience life coach and a certified art therapy practitioner. And if you or someone you know would be a great guest on this podcast, please shoot me an email. My email address is humorinchaos@gmail.com, or you can look me up on my website, www.humorinchaos.com. So today, I am switching up gears from all of that talk of forgiveness and apologizing. And I am talking about, same book, blog post, which one is this? 16, Mirror, Mirror on the Wall. And in this blog post, I talk about different types of love. So I strongly recommend, I mean, I do every time, but I strongly recommend going and reading this blog post. I think it's one of the best ones that I wrote. Um, and I go and I talk about different definitions of love. I talk about limerence love, real love, friendship love, agape love, familial love, and all that stuff. And then I talk about, towards the end of it, I talk about how modern psychology defines love. What does I say right here? Defines love within 5 separate categories. No, that's not the one. Here we go. Modern psychology holds that we choose life partners based on a mirroring effect where our long-term partner has personality characteristics that correspond to certain personality characteristics in ourselves. Okay, so I don't disagree that that's what we do with modern psychology. That is what we do. We choose partners based on that mirroring effect. That mirroring effect being we want the person that we partner with to be helpful. In some ways, we expect too much responsibility from them, and that's what I'm opposed to. For healing the personality deficiencies within ourselves and vice versa. And what I disagree with modern psychology is they take this to be the norm. And yes, it is what we do. My issue is it shouldn't be. My issue is that we should be responsible for our own healings and not imposing that onto other people. And because I am a Catholic Christian, the person who I want in the mirror for me to mirror myself off of and healing myself of my personality deficiencies, i.e., healing my traumas, whether they're childhood traumas or traumas from the divorce that I did not want, living for so long with a serious medical condition, nearly dying, all the trauma, having been a victim of a crime, on and on and on and on and on, whatever. That the person that I want reflected in that mirror that I feel should be Jesus, that it should be really it should be in an ideal self. So it could actually be your own ideal self. And people say, well, then that's self-love. Well, we should have self-love, but our self-love should be equal, not more than, not less than our love for somebody else. But putting the responsibility of a partner to heal us of our ills is an unfair responsibility. We should all be striving within ourselves to be our best version of ourselves. And then sharing ourselves with our partner. That would be ideal. So anyway, but I wanted to talk more about that view. That's what I want to do in this podcast today. So I'm looking at this picture of this mirror, right? I can't this way. This is backwards on here, so it's hard to do this. Okay, so there's the mirror. And my daughter is actually responsible for most of the photos in the blog and in this book. Almost all of them. I took a couple, but she took almost all of them, including the picture of this mirror. Now she got the picture of this mirror. She and and I don't think it was just her and I think other people were family members were with us. But she took this picture of this beautiful mirror. This mirror is in the Getty Museum off of off of the 405, just outside of Los Angeles, in a suburb of Los Angeles. And the Getty Museum, and it's I'm pretty sure it was the Getty Museum. Somebody could correct me if they're like, no, I think this is at some other. It's definitely in a museum in Los Angeles, the Los Angeles area, and I'm pretty sure it's the Getty that's just off the 405, not the one in Santa Monica. But this mirror, because I told her I want to picture this for this blog post and this blog post, and I just gave her themes, and then she went in search of these themes. And in this one, I said, listen, I talk about mirrors because I talk about reflecting ourselves off of somebody else. So I want a picture of a mirror. So she saw this mirror and she snapped a picture, and it's just gorgeous. And so what I want to talk about in this podcast is who's the person that's reflected in the mirror. So modern psychology says it would be the person that we choose to be in life partnership with. Now, this particular mirror does not have a crack in it. There is a line in it because it's not one solid piece of glass. It's two pieces of glass, but I don't believe that's a break. I believe it could be a break, but I don't think so. I think it's just the way the mirror is made. However, or actually, it could be a reflection of a coin. No, I think it's two pieces of glass. I'm sorry, but my eyes are bothering me a little bit. And no, I don't cut these things out because I want all of you to see me for who I really am. So if I've got, a piece of my eye, I'm going to dig it out. Anyway, because I'm not a perfect reflection. That's why I want you to all see that I am not perfect when I do these videos. I do not trim and edit for perfection. I am so far from perfection. Anyway, so I want to talk about cracks in the mirror. That's what I'm getting to. I want to talk about cracks in the mirror. So if your spouse is the person you're reflecting off of in that mirror, then because of personality flaws, there are cracks on both sides of that mirror. If the person looking in the mirror, and you're not religious, you don't follow any sort of religious figure, but there's an ideal version of yourself. The issue I take with an ideal version of yourself is there is no such thing really as an ideal version of yourself. It is not possible for any of us to be perfect and not be without flaws. Therefore, there are cracks on both sides of the mirror. If you are a spiritual or religious person, and the person on the other side of the mirror is, so in our case of Christians, the person on the other side of the mirror is Jesus. If that is who you are mirroring off of, then there's only a crack on your side of the mirror. There is no crack on the other side of the mirror. And I know some Christians would argue this with me, but I am very respectful of other cultures and other religions. And so if you're a Buddhist, then Buddha would be the person on the other side of the mirror. And, only a Buddhist could tell me whether or not there's a crack on the other side of the mirror. But as an example, if Jesus is the person who's there, then on Jesus' side of the mirror, there's no crack. There's a crack on our side, though. So even as we're trying to look through the mirror and trying to create for ourselves out of love for ourselves, the people around us, people in our family, our spouse, our parents, our children, our friends, just the neighbor, love your neighbor as yourself, whoever it is that we're trying to become our idealized self based on who's reflected in the mirror. It's wise to remember that there are cracks in our side of the mirror, which means that no matter how hard we try, we never can see the whole truth. And we never can be perfect, that there is no such thing. And so the wonderful thing about recognizing cracks in the mirror is this is how we can get, well, I guess I am going back to forgiveness. This is why we can give ourselves forgiveness. This is why we can give ourselves grace and mercy. This is the basis for how we can give ourselves love. And this is also the basis that when we are looking at the people that we love in that mirror, and they have cracks in their mirrors too, how we can extend all of that to the people that we love as well. So, that's the important thing. That is really what the true definition of lifetime love for anyone, true agape, full acceptance, unconditional love is really about. It's about recognizing that we have flaws. It's not necessarily recognizing what the flaws are. They can be, if they need to be, if they're important enough to be recognized and have to be handled, then we can do that. Sometimes they just need to be overlooked because it's not the person's fault. It is a part of who they are. It is a part of their constitution as a human being, and so they can be set aside. They're not important. I mean, it's always best to encourage people to grow themselves, but it's not in our control to point out what they need to change or how they need to do it. Again, we can only control ourselves. We can't control the people around us. And true agape love is accepting that and accepting them for who they are. And so by doing that, we can then extend the grace we give ourselves to them. We can extend the forgiveness we give ourselves to them. That's why it's great to forgive yourself first. Just as important, I should say. It's just as important to forgive yourself so that you can give that forgiveness to other people. Was there anything else I wanted to talk about with that blog post? It's kind of hard because the next two blog posts are also about love. I really could combine these. You know what? I am going to quick pause this and I'm going to think about that. Okay, yeah. So I decided I'm going to put 16, 17, and 18 all together because they all three talk about love. So 16, mirror, mirror on the wall. Okay, 17 is this love, where I talk more about the different kinds of love. And I'm going to talk about something else in regards to that in a minute. And then 18, can't talk about love without the Bible chapter, 1 Corinthians, chapter 13, verses 4 through 13. So, yeah, I'm just going to put these all together in one episode because otherwise I'll just be repeating myself for 3 weeks, which is pointless. I do too much of that already. Yes, my one son who tells me, you have a tendency to repeat. I know I do. It's because I have a history of teaching religious education classes. And I found when I taught religious education classes that if I said the same thing 2 different ways, some kids would get it the one way, other kids would get it the other way. So I had a better success rate. And I got to the habit and I still do it. Right, so that's why I do that. Anyway, so that was 16 I talked about with the mirror and who's in the reflection and the broken glass. In blog post 17 is this love. Okay, what I wanted to talk about in this is that I noticed that when I wrote in this, I talk about how I still love my ex-husband, but I think people confuse that when they read that with, I still love my husband like I did when we were married and I was deeply in love with him. No, I do not. I do not love him that way because I have accepted that he is gone. I love him in a different way now, and I think it's a healthier way. I mean, if we were still married, it would be healthier if I loved him as a spouse in that deep in love, agape love, that really is required of a healthy marriage, that acceptance of someone fully. But no, I can't love him that way anymore because we're not that way anymore. That would not be healthy to do. I do love him though, but in a different way, and I still accept him. I accept him for who he is, but who he is not who he was. And now by virtue of years of being ill and having to let go of the person I love so deeply, I am no longer the person that I was. I am a different person. He is a different person and I am a different person. However, I love him deeply as a friendship love, and I think that is healthy, simply by virtue of him being a human being, one, and two, he is the father of my children and grandfather of my grandchildren. We share children, we share grandchildren, we share a history. We share a long history. We had a gray divorce. We had been married together for over 30 years. Even if he was years out of the marriage, he didn't tell me. I was still in it. Um, you know, he didn't tell me he had a foot out of the marriage. If he had, things would have been different earlier on, but he didn't. So it was a long time together under one roof, sharing a bed. You don't just, that's easier to shut off when you have a shorter marriage or a shorter relationship. That's a lot harder to turn off after decades together. And because we have children and grandchildren, I don't think it's healthy to completely cut somebody off. I don't think it is. I don't think it's healthy. I know a lot of people like, no, it's healthier to cut them off. We still have a family between the two of us. Now, has he cut me completely out of it? Yeah, he has. I'll be perfectly honest, at this point in time that I am recording this, he has completely cut me out. Now, I have accepted that. And that's fine. I'm okay with that. But I don't think it's healthy. Nothing I can do about it. That's my opinion. He has a different opinion. He's entitled to his opinion. I'm entitled to my opinion. I think it's healthy and right for me to still have love for him, to still have respect for him, because we share these things together. Now, if he can't be respectful to me, then I don't think it's healthy for me to be in his vicinity. That's not giving love to myself, and I am no longer okay with self-sacrificing myself to make him happy, which I was doing, and it was wrong when I was doing it, and I'm not willing to do it now. But there's nothing wrong with having a friendship love for him because of our shared history and having it from afar. That is fine. It's in its proper perspective. Here's the thing. If I cut him off and pretended he no longer existed, what does that do to my kids and my grandkids? He is a part of them. They are half me, they are half him. And if it's one thing that I hold deep in my heart, it is the mental and emotional state of my children and my grandchildren. And if I criticize him, and I'm not saying I've ever been perfect, there are times when I have slipped up and I have criticized him to them. But when I do that, I'm also criticizing that part of them that came from him. And that is not okay. And vice versa. If and when he does that to them about me, I hope he realizes he's hurting the aspects of them that have come from me, that they got from me. And it's important to remember this when you are a broken family. And it does not matter that my children are adults. They are still products. They're products of God. They are products of him. They are products of me. And so I love him in those ways. I no longer have for him the limerent love, which I talk about in this chapter. I think it's blog post 17 is this love. I talk about that. I was deeply in love with him. But I'm no longer deeply in love with him like that. No. And if you listen to the podcast that I had with Jeremy Roadruck, I asked Jeremy Roadruck a specific question about respect, because when my ex and I were in the process of splitting up, he accused me one time of saying, well, you were disrespectful to me. And I have to tell you, I have yet to understand what he meant. I have looked it up. I have researched it. I have asked Jeremy. I have asked other coaches. I have asked my therapist. I asked my coach. To this day, I have zero idea what my ex-husband meant by that. Because anybody who saw us together knew that I loved him deeply, that I had a lot of respect. But the only answer that I have, which I did get from Jeremy, the clearest answer, because I did discuss it directly with him. I said, is it a definition problem? And he basically said, yes, it is. My ex's definition of respect and my definition of respect did not match. And one of the barriers to love is the fact that we have various definitions of love, different types of love. One person could be love in one type of love. The other person might be experiencing a different type of love, and they're not meeting, they're bypassing. And you can have respect without love, but you really cannot have love without respect. If you are trying to love somebody and there is not respect there, that's not love. Love requires respect. Love requires respect for the other person's autonomy as a human being, and that they can only control themselves, that you can't control them. Well, unless they're a little baby or a very small child, that's different. Parent love for a small child, yes, you can control them, but when they get to a certain age, no, they've got their own mind. They've got their own thoughts, feelings, opinions that need to be respected. And they need to respect you too. Yes. Sorry, anybody goes, well, their children need to respect their parents. Uh-huh. Yes, they do. So yeah. And then for blog post 18, 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verses 4 through 13. This is a very short blog post, and basically I talk about using those passages in the Bible as personal affirmations. Mostly in your own marriage, but really in any relationship, as I specifically point out that if you take love is patient, love is kind, and you remove the word love and you put in your name. So for me, Sarah's patient, Sarah's kind, Sarah's not jealous or boastful. These are personal affirmations. They can be personality goals. I want to be like this. I want to treat people like this. This is how I want to express my being. This is how I want my being to be. I want to be not irritable and not resentful. I want to rejoice in right, not wrong. I want to bear all things, believe all things, and hope all things. Sarah endures all things. These are positive affirmations. And these are wonderful positive affirmations. I say this on here that when someone says I am not a patient person, I'm not a patient person. Okay, you are self-programming yourself to not be a patient person. So basically, this blog post, I'm talking about positively programming yourself and learning how to stop negatively programming yourself. I'm not patient. I'm not, don't do that. Say, I am a patient person. I am a loving person. And then the last thing that I want to talk about is the destruction of love. Ultimately, the destruction of a loving relationship happens within the loving relationship. Things can come at it from the outside, but really, if there's real unconditional acceptance and true love of willing the good of the other person, then no outside force can destroy that relationship, can destroy that love. It really requires somebody, one of the two inside the relationship, to allow an outside force to come in. Now, that does not exonerate anyone on the outside who comes in to try and break it up. And yes, I'm talking about affair situations, but not only affair situations. It can be an in-law who's putting their nose in where it doesn't belong, or a friend or another family member who's whispering in the ear of a spouse about the other spouse, or it can be a parent who's bad-mouthing the other parent to a child in a divorce situation or custody battle. I'm not exonerating the people on the outside, but it really takes somebody on the inside. And in a child situation, the child really doesn't have a whole lot of power. But in, an older child or adult situation, they do. If they welcome in even a tiny little bit that third party person, that's where the real destruction comes in. I say this because, and this is strictly biblical. And if you're not a Christian person and you don't believe in the Bible and stuff like that, you can go ahead and disregard the rest of this episode. Please come back for the next one. But I can't deny where I come from. But this is because of, where is it? I have it written down someplace. Is it in Ecclesiastes? I don't know, where it says about three together. And it talks about the husband, the wife, and God is the third. And that where the three ropes, the strongest rope is woven of three. Three ropes woven into one is the strongest, or a stool with three legs is the strongest. And so if you don't let in that third party, or actually in that case it would be the fourth party, if you don't let in that outside influence in, then nothing can destroy that. But if you do let in that outside influence, then yeah, even if the one spouse doesn't know, it's the destruction between the two spouses that really causes the break. Again, doesn't exonerate the outside person, not at all, because they shouldn't be trying in the first place. Okay, so that's it on talking about love. Love is really ultimately our main purpose in existing. Whatever people say, I don't know why I'm here, that drives me crazy. Our purpose for existing is to love, is to will the good of the other, and to love ourselves as the other. To love God first, will the good of the other, and love ourselves as the other person. That is our purpose in being. It doesn't matter what our calling is. Our calling can be to be a spouse. Our calling can be to be a police officer. Our calling can be to be a teacher. Our calling can be to be a doctor, a nurse, a taxi driver. Regardless of the calling, our purpose is all about love. So that's my opinion on it. So, all right. Thanks for joining me. I know this one was kind of long, but like I said, it's 3 blog posts in one, because otherwise I didn't want to go through all that repetition. But go ahead and go back and read the blog post. They're still important, and you all take care, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.